CRN. Don't miss it.
Welcome. It is Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, streaming live coast to coast and around the world on CRN Digital Talk Radio. We are so happy to be here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm with Richard Nixon. He's a practicing attorney, a Vietnam-era vet. He's got a BA in physics, doctorate of law, and author of America, An Illusion of Freedom, which is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and as well on iTunes. We have a big show today. We're going to be talking about immigration. Immigration is a very, very hot topic around the country and around the globe. We have a lot of interesting things to talk about. We're going to come to it for a constitutional background. But Richard, first of all, how have you been?
I've been just fine. However, I'm just a bit upset that you demoted me from a BS in physics to a BA in physics.
I'm terribly sorry, because I have BAs and you have BSs, and so
well, a lot of people would say it's a lot of BS.
Yeah, that's what I teed that up for you. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Also, you can check us out on Facebook Live right now, the video stream. You can also ask questions there in the comment section. Also, give us a call, 818-818-6401. And briefly, before we get into the main topic of the day, there was some news that came down that was very, very interesting here in the state of California. Our governor, Jerry Brown, he has signed a bill which will eliminate cash bail in criminal cases in the state of California. Very, very interesting. He says that the crux of his argument is that it's discriminatory towards lower income people and that he will rely more on risk assessments rather than cash bail. Richard, your thoughts on this legislation?
Well, I believe there is, I'm not sure I agree with what Governor Brown has done, but there is a need to resolve the issues. As an attorney, I've been in court, and I've seen, let's just say in traffic court, where people are picked up for not having a valid registration or a license. If they don't have the money, they are incarcerated. If they do have the money, they post bail and they're freed. And it seems to be inherently unfair. But if you're going to permit each person to go through a risk assessment, it's going to drag these mini hearings into possibly half a day. It's just impossible for the courts to handle these, and I can't believe the judges are in favor of what the governor has done. I
mean, as it is, the courts are pretty overburdened to begin with.
Absolutely.
And now you're going to have this whole other subset of hearings.
Yes.
They'll determine what's who deserves the sort of treatment, who should be incarcerated pending trial, who shouldn't.
And in fact, over different subjects, oftentimes the public defenders will purposely bring motions they know they can't win to delay the trials and the hearings unless the legislature changes the law more in their favor.
Especially the private defense attorneys as well, because they know that the prosecutor's office is heavily burdened. They have an enormous caseload.
Absolutely.
And it behooves them to try to stretch out these trials longer and longer, because it might garner a plea agreement that would be beneficial to the defendant. And I want to ask you one more question about this after the break, about the bail system in general, but then we're going to get into our topic of the day, immigration. It's a very, very, very interesting topic, and we're going to come to it from a constitutional perspective. So you guys, we're here in the Legal Lounge with Richard Nixon. I am Mike Gary. This is CRN Digital Talk Radio, streaming live coast to coast and around the world on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com. Hi, Valerie. We see that you're watching. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll be right back, you guys, in one short minute. More with Richard Nixon right after the break.
Hi, everyone. This is Fred Dreyer. You listen to me every week on the Sports Lounge. Well, I'm here to tell you my good friend and co-host, Michael Horn, is making his wine knowledge and his incredible industry contacts available to you. Mike will educate you in the world of wines. He will stock your wine cellar, wine refrigerator, or wine rack with one-of-a-kind wines. Also, as a lover of a great glass of port, I will share with you my experiences in finding the cigars that fit your palate. I will help you stock your humidor with great cigars that reflect your growing taste and the very best smokes for your budget. Mike and I can set up a once-in-a-lifetime wine dinner, and I can host a sports cigar party. Call us today at 818-818-6400. That's 818-818-6400. Let us find the dream wines and cigars of your lifetime.
Welcome back to the Legal Lounge here. Richard Nixon live on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. If you guys enjoy this program, give us a follow on Facebook. And we always like to say this. If you personally served with Richard, he was in the Army in 1963, 1965, and later on a contractor in 1968 in country in Vietnam. If you personally knew Richard, please get in touch with us. Give us a call, 818-818-6400, and we want to give you a free copy of his excellent book. Yes,
that's excellent.
America, Illusion of Freedom. It's a fantastic book, and if you want to read it yourself, just order it. Order it off Amazon. Order it off Barnes & Noble. Order it off iTunes. So there you go. One last question about this bail story, and I'm putting you on the spot, Richard, because we didn't talk about this during our prep time. Is pretrial? Let me rephrase. Is pretrial detention constitutional in your view?
Well, yes. The reason I say that is really it's a function of state law. It should be, but what clouds the matter is the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution. And as you know, the Supreme Court, without authority, decided through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to apply the Eighth Amendment to the states. The Eighth Amendment says there shall be no excessive or unusual bail. I think that's what it says. Mm-hmm. That's close. I'm paraphrasing. So there has to be some kind of pretrial disposition before the trial. And the usual way that most states do it is by insisting that you give something of value so we know you'll return. Mm-hmm. And most people, even if they're relatively destitute, can go to a bail bondsman or something like that. But there are situations where the person really has no funds. And in that case, this is exactly what Sacramento's trying to address. I applaud them for their efforts, but I'm not sure by totally eliminating bail that's the right way either.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating for me, to see, especially cases where low-income people are held pretrial for many months, sometimes years, and then acquitted. And then there's no recompense for that time they spent incarcerated, but that's another matter for another day.
Yes.
Let's get to the topic of the day, because Richard, we've touched on this in previous episodes, and I know you've got a lot of feedback about immigration. Can you expand on these issues?
I can, but before we do that, Mike, one more thing that's current is that, and I hope the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of California will forgive me if I'm ever in her audience for mispronouncing her name, but it's Tani Cantil Sekaluye. And basically what she's done is she's come out very forcefully and asked or demand that the federal authorities, ICE, etc., not, if you will, invade the courts. Because she feels that the people that come to court that are maybe undocumented, or in my terminology, illegal, will hesitate to come to court if they think ICE is going to be there to arrest them. But it's my understanding that the federal government has given her assurances that they would not go to any sensitive places anyway, to include schools, hospitals, and
churches, I believe, yeah.
And again, the reason they go to courtrooms is because in general we've got the devices that check for guns and weapons and so on. So once a person is in the courtroom building, the court building, they're relatively unarmed, if you will, and therefore the ICE and the enforcement authorities feel that's the safest place to arrest them.
Yeah, that's what Jeff Sessions wrote, yeah.
Both for the standpoint of the officer and the so-called illegal immigrant.
Yeah, and her rationale, of course, is that by enforcing immigration laws in these places, in these courts, that these illegal immigrants, as you say, will not be likely or not be receptive to coming and pursuing their adjudications against others and for themselves, because they won't feel safe, though they feel in danger of deportation. But there is a policy. I know the LAPD has this policy where if you're an illegal immigrant and you report a crime, you do not have to disclose your immigration status. Just the actual.
That's right.
So the ball has been rolling. You can still report crimes. Let's say if you're being abused or you witnessed a crime, you can still report these crimes. It's just later on, and oftentimes these cases that I think that the Supreme Court Justice was referring to were not these immigrants testifying as witness.
That's right.
They're actually appearing for separate charges.
Exactly. And the other thing, too, of course, is that by the Supreme Court Justice saying what she said, she's entered into the political affray, and she is supposed to be, if you will, as a judge, neutral, but she's basically telegraphed her position vis-a-vis this issue if you're ever before her in her court. She's basically told you how she would decide this thing, and that's certainly improper. And quite frankly, I just have this thought that it might very well be a violation of the judicial code of ethics, where judges are held to behave a certain way, and if they don't, they can be disciplined and literally removed from the bench. Now, I don't suggest that what she's done here warrants that, but certainly it borders on politics rather than conducting herself as a justice. And
it almost, you can use these comments to cite law now, because you can say, well, the Supreme Court Justice of the state of California has these comments and these opinions about federal immigration law, and now that can be used to be cited as precedent.
Exactly.
Once again, I mean, one of the themes of this show, I mean, regardless of your ideology, if you're on the right, the left, or the center, is about the way that law is made.
Right, and the point is this. This country is supposed to be our country, the country of the people. And if we allow, or we continue to allow, in my case, the Supreme Court to make law, these people are not accountable to us, or we the voters. And as long as we allow some group of people, what I'll call a cartel, to make the laws that we must obey, we've lost control of our country to that extent. Now, luckily, they don't make every decision. Not every case gets to the Supreme Court. But as far as I'm concerned, too many do. And oftentimes they are the most important cases, and they become quotable.
The most
citable.
Most politically divisive cases in most cases.
Right.
It's very, very interesting. And we're going to be talking a lot about the immigration issues. We're going to kind of go through a basic history of immigration law, and then, there's, of course, the 14th Amendment, the Citizenship Clause, and we're going to talk about just, immigration in general. So if you guys have any thoughts or questions, give us a call, 818-818-6401, or chime in on Facebook. You just go to facebook.com/CRN Talk. You just go to the video section and go full screen. You can see Richard and I chopping it up, and we're taking your questions as well, you guys. So stick around. We're here in the Legal Lounge with Richard Nixon. I am Mike Gary. This is CRN Digital Talk Radio, you guys. Give us a call, 818-818-6401. If you agree, if you disagree, if you want to call us idiots, feel free. We like the conversation, you guys. Stick around. We'll be here for the rest of the hour here on the Legal Lounge with Richard Nixon Live. Be right back, you guys. Stay with us.
The following ad contains shocking material. Listener discretion is advised. Is someone in your family playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette? Over 43,000 people die a year from drug overdose. 120 people a day. 5 people every hour, 1 person every 12 minutes. 88,000 people die every year from alcohol abuse. Over 240 people a day, 10 an hour, 1 person every 6 minutes. Somebody you know may be next. Learn how to help someone you love get away from the drugs, alcohol, and bad influences. With the FMLA, people can take a leave of absence from their job and still keep it. Call Quit Drugs 321 now at 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315. That's 800-378-3315.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Welcome back to the Legal Lounge. Richard Nixon live here on CRN Digital Talk Radio. I'm joined by Richard Nixon. He's an attorney at law. He's a bachelor in science.
Yes, thank you.
In physics, a doctorate of law, and he's an acclaimed author as well. America, An Illusion of Freedom, available Amazon.com, iTunes, as well as Barnes & Noble. We are here talking about immigration, a very, very hot topic. Some brief background on immigration laws in the United States. For the first about 100 years in this country, we had a pretty much an open borders policy, and that was a matter of necessity because we had a large amount of territory that needed to be settled, and so we let in pretty much anybody that can make it over. And then in about 100 years, about 75 years after that, the 1866 Civil Rights Act granted U.S. citizenship to all persons born in the United States, but later on codified in the 14th Amendment.
Yes, the 14th Amendment, Section 1, basically says that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, what the government of late, maybe the last 20 years, they have chosen to ignore that clause or phrase, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. It was treated as surplusage, as though it didn't belong there, or didn't exist there, and anyone who's born here now becomes a citizen. And of course, once the baby's a citizen, then the parents, you can't separate the baby from the parents, so they have a step up in terms of their becoming citizens as well. But the point is, we know what that phrase meant from Senator Jacob B. Howard of Michigan. He was the author of the Citizenship Clause, and basically he said that the clause was intended to exclude American Indians who maintained their tribal ties and persons born in the United States who are of foreigners, aliens, and who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers. So basically what that was saying is whether or not the baby's being born here is a citizen based on his birth is a function of the parents' allegiance or non-allegiance to this country. If they bore allegiance to this country, the baby was a citizen. If they bore allegiance to some other country, the baby was not a citizen.
So who decides who's allegiant and who's not? How do you interpret that?
Well, again, it's in the Constitution, and the executive branch is sworn to obey and follow the laws of the Constitution. So it's really, I guess, Jeff Sessions' problem, as much as he's picked on today by President Trump. I think some of the criticism is justified, unless, as we said during the break, Mike, that maybe he's actually doing these things and we're not aware of it. But certainly he would be in the right, because the whole point is this. If you start turning these people away from the federal bureaucrats and their welfare needs and so on, these people would self-deport if they realized that their child being born here was not sufficient to make the child a citizen. And they would no longer qualify for any federal aid, and theoretically, at least, they would self-deport.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that, when we're talking about birthright citizenship, that leads to another issue, chain migration.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And as I think several people have pointed out, that of 15 people that are here as legal residents, only one is here based upon employment. So he's brought in 14 of his family members, frankly, who sometimes are what they call an anchor, because they're here and they keep the rest of the people here and performing no function, I think, that, quite frankly, to be severe, that the country needs. In other words, immigration was intended to benefit the country, not the immigrant. And the fact that Papa has a job here has nothing to do with whether his grandmother or mother is here legally. They are oftentimes wards of the state or the federal government. And I think many of us are fed up with that.
Well, and we're going to get more into this after the break, and we're talking about foreign remittance before the show, where these immigrants come over to this country, they work, and they send the majority of their wages back to their home country, and that's how you don't really have that kind of benefit, economic benefit, where this money stays in the country, be it not so much for taxes, but in the actual spending economy.
Some people have mentioned that is really what Trump is thinking about in terms of paying for the wall, because there have been other people up maybe 5 or 6 years ago, a woman, senator, I can't remember her name now, who said we should start taxing those remittances 10% at the post office. I mean, I am witness to these people buying these money orders, sending them to Mexico. Yeah. We should put a 10% tax, and I think it's something like $11 billion a year go back to Mexico. 10% of that is like $1 billion. And certainly would go a little ways in building that wall.
Yes. We're going to talk more about this after the break. You guys stay with us. We're Richard Nixon live in the Legal Lounge. Give us a call, 818-818-6401. Also check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/CRN Talk. Go to videos. You can watch us live and ask questions in the comments bar. We'll be right back, you guys. Stick around. National break, 4 minutes. Back with Richard Nixon right after the break, you guys. Stay with us.
Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel. Located in the heart of Maui's premier resort, Kaanapali Beach Hotel is officially recognized as Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel and the #1 best value in Hawaii. With a range of accommodations and affordable dining options, this is the ideal setting to turn Hawaiian dreams into lifelong memories. Live Hawaiian entertainment every evening, free year-round children's programs, weekly arts and crafts fairs, welcome breakfast, and departure kukui lei ceremonies add to the value. Swim in the whale-shaped pool, indulge in the fabulous spa and hotel salon. Enjoy Hawaiian hospitality at its best at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Call 800-262-8450 or go to kbhmaui.com. That's kbhmaui.com. Aloha.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
This is today's entertainment answer. Did you know that Amazon Prime is not just for free shipping? I forget they have great movies too. This week, the Amazon Prime original video Jack Ryan, starring John Krasinski, releases. Marine-turned-rookie CIA analyst Jack Ryan becomes an unexpected hero as he races to stop the extremist from unleashing an insidious assault on U.S. soil. An action-packed thrill ride told in 8 heart-stopping episodes. Jack Ryan available this week on Amazon Prime. For this entertainment answer, I'm Matt Mungle.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante to see memorabilia of movie stars and theatrical magic right in downtown Fullerton, California. The Art of the Great Masters in an Italian town square complete with storefronts of old, Italian butchers and cheesemongers, fruit and wine vendors, seamstresses showing their wares, the romance of Romeo and Juliet. Find our mystical Room of the Moon, and don't forget King Kong, Dracula, Frankenstein, and who knows what awaits you in the wine cellar. Enjoy the great food. We hand stuff our pastas, roll each and every tortellini, bake our own bread, and make all of our sauces fresh from our private stock of Sicilian family recipes. Pasta to seafood, chicken to award-winning pizzas, tiramisu flown in from Rome. If you can't find something on our menu to tempt you, you don't like Italian food. Try our Sunday brunch, all you can eat, just $21.95. And Angelo's and Vinci's has been named the best Italian restaurant in Orange County 2 years in a row, and our owner has been named Restaurateur of the Year. Angelo's and Vinci's, Fullerton, California, 714-879-4022 or angelosandvinci's.com.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644.
Welcome back. We are in the Legal Lounge. Richard Nixon live here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com, Facebook.com/CRNTalk. Also available on the Amazon Echo. All you have to do is say, hey, Alexa, play CRN1 on TuneIn, and bam, we're right there, you guys. We are joined by Richard Nixon. He's a practicing attorney, a Bachelor in Science of Physics, a Doctorate of Law, and also an acclaimed author of America, An Illusion of Freedom, available Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, as well as iTunes. We were talking immigration today. Oh, I forgot to mention, also a recreational conga player as well.
There you go.
There you go. Got to leave with that. We're talking about immigration, you guys. We'd love to hear your comments. Chime in on Facebook, facebook.com/CRN-Talk. And there's been a lot of people have been trying to reform immigration, this country's immigration policies for generations almost. I mean, going back to the 60s, going back to the mid-80s with Reagan, and most recently John McCain, the senator who just passed away, our condolences to his family, was trying to work on a bipartisan immigration policy. But most recently, Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas has introduced legislation known as the RAISE Act, where he wants to make immigration more of a merit-based. Is that correct, Richard?
Exactly. In other words, do away with the so-called lottery system and reduce the number of people that would come here as a result of immigration to people that we need based upon our employment needs. It would be limited to the individual and the individual spouse and minor children, and that's it. There would be no more chain migration where once a person comes here, that his whole family, including grandparents and grandkids, can come. So, and it's reduced. And again, there's a criteria that's reviewed twice a year to determine which of the applicants are considered for entrance into this country based upon our country's need. And I know I repeat this all the time, but the point of immigration is to benefit this country. It is not to benefit the immigrant, in spite of all the articles you hear and all the hard luck stories that you hear from the immigrants and their lawyers. That is not, frankly, our problem. Anyway, so I think that the RAISE program and Senator Cotton is on the right track, and I think Trump is seriously considering it.
And this leads into an interesting point as well that I think we should discuss. I think there's two forms of immigration, both legal and illegal. That there's two rationales. There's the economic advantages that this country affords immigrants coming to this country, but also there's a public safety issue as well. I want to talk about asylum.
Yes.
Where immigrants are fleeing violence in their native countries and coming to the United States to escape from that violence. I feel that the immigration in terms of economic benefit can be regulated, I think, more constructively. How do we deal with the immigrants fleeing violence?
Well, again, I think Jeff Sessions and the not the State Department, but the Justice Department has a very clear line of demarcation, basically saying that if you can argue that you're fleeing because of violence, it must be government-generated violence as opposed to violence in your private life. That is, that you have a husband that's unruly and maybe beats the woman often, or gangs that are threatening you. Unless you can tie the government of that country into it, we have to limit this somehow, and that's the limitation that he's set down, and I think it's correct.
And I think there's a philosophical rationale for that position, because it's almost it's attuned to parenting to me. For example, why if your country, a lot of these South American countries are plagued by horrible violence and instability. If your only recourse is to leave that country, right, shouldn't you stay there and try to change the conditions yourself?
Exactly.
Isn't that the patriotic act?
Exactly. In fact, that was mentioned with all the refugees recently, with maybe 6 months ago. They were going all through Europe and couldn't get into Hungary. They were going here and there. And somebody mentioned that 70% were young, able-bodied men. Why in the hell didn't they stay in the country and fight back? Mm-hmm. Instead, they leave? That makes no sense. This is why a lot of people said they're coming here because they're told to come here to do some harm to this country. Yeah. That's their ultimate goal. Otherwise, if they were sincere about correcting the problems in their country, they'd stay and fight.
Well, also, I think that there's a legacy, especially in South America, of United States involvement, paramilitary and covertly,
yes,
to address these issues that we're talking about right now.
Yes,
and that has become, let's say, a non de guerre, where we really the public's appetite for that kind of those programs is not there. But
exactly.
I don't know. I mean, Richard, I'm just spitballing here, but if we had the same kind of covert operations down there where we were empowering these young people, financing them, training them, and arming them to better their country, to bring forth a democracy, wouldn't that solve a lot of the illegal immigration, specifically from Latin America?
Well, I think it would, but we have to go back to the church hearings back in the 60s, I believe, where, the CIA was kind of like the way we think of James Bond. Everything was done kind of on the QT. Mm-hmm. The government really didn't know what James Bond was doing. And if they did, they just kind of looked the other way. The church hearings basically exposed the CIA and made a lot of their secrets, if you will, public. A lot of people thought that destroyed the CIA. But the CIA has struggled to get back into that secret column ever since then. Mm-hmm. And again, you don't know, frankly, I'm confused or conflicted, I should say, about how I feel about the CIA and how much of what they do should be secret. We don't want everyone to know what we're doing, and that includes the enemy, of course. On the other hand, if we don't, then they can be doing things that we, the citizens, are not aware of. So it's like a balancing act there, and I don't know what's correct, really.
It's a conundrum. It's a paradox, really.
Yes.
And full disclosure, I'm a little bit more dovish on immigration than most, but I think this is my solution, really. I mean, because we're seeing, Venezuela is in 1,000,000% inflation in Venezuela right now. We're seeing terrible violence in El Salvador, and I think we should support, popular uprisings and people down there to really, give the country back to their people.
Yes.
Rather than, offer. I believe that we and this country, we do accept more refugees than any other country on earth.
Absolutely.
Despite what the news media might say. I think we have a caring heart in this country, but also there's other options out there. So we're going to talk about those options right after the break, you guys. And if you disagree, give us a call. Call us idiots. 818-818-6401. But I guarantee that Richard will beat you in a debate. He beats me.
Thank you.
He beats me every week, you guys. Stay with us. We are here in the Legal Lounge. Richard Nixon live. I am Mike Gary. Be right back. See you on Digital Talk Radio.
If you wear a denture, are you sure your breath is clean and fresh? Try Polident. It's specifically designed to clean a denture because it's tough on odor-causing bacteria, but gentle on the denture itself. Polident has a 4-in-1 cleaning system with 4 powerful ingredients that work together to deep clean your denture. It kills 99.99% of odor-causing bacteria in laboratory testing and helps to remove stains. Feel confident and clean every day with Polident. Available at Walmart for a low price every day.
You sit at a desk. They sit at a desk. You have sales reports. They have book reports. You need supplies. They need supplies. Business is a lot like school. That's why your small business should take advantage of back-to-school deals at Staples. Now Staples 1-inch 3-ring binders are $1.92. 1 subject notebooks are just 25 cents, and 12 packs of ballpoint stick pens are just 97 cents each. Make back-to-school your business at Staples.
While supplies last. Offers end 9/1/18. In-store only. Limit 30.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live, streaming live. We're in the Legal Lounge. CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com. Also, facebook.com/CRN Talk. Watch the video, join the conversation, give us a call, 818-818-6401. Also, drop us an email, richardnixon@crntalk.com. That's Richard Nixon at crntalk.com. And Richard, I want to talk about we've been talking about immigration. We're joined by Richard Nixon. He's a practicing attorney and an author as well, America, An Illusion of Freedom. And I think, like I said before the break, I'm a little dovish on immigration when it comes to the immigrants themselves. But I'm not so dovish. You actually might call me a hawk on those that break the law, federal law, by employing illegal immigrants. And coming from the left, the onus could be on the institutions that profit off illegal immigration and big agriculture,
yes,
and also other industries out there. How much onus is on the employers?
Well, see, that's exactly what has prevented a real solution to our immigration problem, because both the left and the right have an interest in rewarding these illegals as they come in. The Republicans like the low wages they have to pay them, so they want them to come in. The Democrats court them with freebies, hoping that they'll eventually, when they become authorized, or maybe before, they'll vote Democrat.
Yeah.
So they both have a vested interest in continuing this thing. This is why there's so much uproar against Trump and the wall. They don't want Trump to succeed. Both Republicans and Democrats, part of the swamp, part of the establishment, are hoping that the guy goes away somehow. So I don't know that that answers your question entirely, Mike, but the point is, it is a problem, and the reason it's never been solved is because the politicians don't want to solve it. But if I may, I want to mention one other thing that's fairly current, and it's this Lynch versus DiMaia case. And very briefly, Mr. DiMaia was a non-citizen here legally with the green card. He was twice convicted in California of first-degree burglary. First-degree burglary is a burglary of a residence and is counted as a strike. It's much more serious than a second-degree burglary. It can lead up to 6 years in prison. Now, the broad issue in this case is whether or not he should be deported. There is law, it's very complicated, convoluted law, that basically says that if you're convicted of a violent felony, and there are certain aggravating factors and so on of crimes of violence, that you can be deported, or you should be deported. And what happened is he claimed that because these were two convictions of a residential place, and they were serious felonies that could have resulted in 6 years apiece, that because the language is so convoluted that he was denied his constitutional rights of clarity. Now, again, clarity, as we've talked about before, comes from the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. As we talked about due process, we said, due process requires notice and an opportunity to be heard. So if you have a law that the average person cannot possibly understand when he's violating it, you've violated his due process rights. And under the 14th Amendment Due Process Clause, you've violated the Constitution. So that's exactly what they found in this case. Because, again, Congress wrote the law in such a convoluted fashion that almost contradictory, self-contradictory, that the justices couldn't figure out what it meant, let alone Mr. DiMaia. So, anyway, this included Justice Gorsuch, and he said, yes, I think it's a violation to punish him under this section because it is so vague, and therefore we find it unconstitutional. So, again, this could have been solved by Congress simply saying, look, if we have someone here who is subject to being deported, and in addition to that, he has one or more felonies, serious felonies against him, including residential burglary, there's no inhibition. Deport him. Now, why they couldn't say it that simply is beyond me.
Yeah, the definition of violent acts open for interpretation, and we were talking before the show, you made a very, very salient point, that the language of law that's written by the legislature on these controversial issues, you say that sometimes they might make this language so vague on purpose.
Yes, and you know, and you see, here's the problem. The function of a lawyer is to do just that. He's supposed to skew every word that the law that applies to the situation in favor of his client. So I don't fault lawyers for this. I fault the people who do the law, pass the law, if you will, that gives the lawyer the opportunity to find ambiguity. And again, Gorsuch, being true to his code, that he's going to go by the text of the Constitution, and he finds the text of those words ambiguous, and therefore I think he didn't want to let DiMaia win this thing, but he, in good conscience, had to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there you go. Another instance of Richard explaining an issue, and the fundamental issue is that law should be made by the people's house.
Absolutely.
Not by 9 justices sitting on high, not by some district judge sitting on low, but by the legislature, by the people's branch, because those senators and congresspeople are held accountable by the people.
Exactly.
Not 9 people elected for a lifetime term. You guys, wow, this hour went by real fast. One last segment, you guys. We're going to wrap things up, and we're going to talk about solutions. I'm going to ask Richard the standard immigration debate question that every candidate for federal office gets, and we're going to see what his answer is, and I'm sure it's going to be brilliant. You guys stay with us. I'm here with Richard Nixon. He's a practicing attorney, a Bachelor of Science in Physics, an acclaimed author, America, Illusion of Freedom, available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes. Stick around, you guys. We'll be be right back here in the Legal Lounge. Richard Nixon Live. I'm Mike Gary. This is CRN Digital Talk Radio. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/CRN Talk. And we will be right back, you guys. Hello, friends. This is Mike Gary, co-host of The Lounge with Robert Conrad. Join Robert Conrad for a special live broadcast of The Lounge Thursday, November 1st at 4 p.m. This will be held at Angelo and Vinci's Ristorante in Fullerton, California. This is a once-in-a-lifetime fan event with Robert Conrad. For more information, go to crntalk.com/Conrad event. That's crntalk.com/Conrad event.
Can't wait to see you all on November 1st.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808.
And we are here back in the lounge. Richard Nixon live. I am Mike Gary. Richard Nixon, he's a practicing attorney. He's an author, American Illusion of Freedom, and he's got a pretty healthy car collection as well. We might see a new one being brought out of the stable soon. You guys, we are here in the Legal Lounge. Thank you so much for joining us. Wrapping things up, and I teased it before the break. And now I'm going to ask, I'm going to go debate moderator style right here. Richard, how do we fix our broken immigration system?
I thank you for that question, Mike. And at the risk of becoming just a bit professorial, I'm going to refer to the Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution, Article 3, Section 2, Paragraph 2, and it says very briefly, in all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, and those in which a state shall be a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. I only mention that so that we know what original jurisdiction is. Now, the next sentence is what we want to focus on, and it says, in all other cases, before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and to fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. Now, my point in mentioning that is that we tend to think that once the Supreme Court makes a decision, it's final. In fact, it was never intended to be that way. We know from previous sessions that the Marbury versus Madison decision from 1803, the Supreme Court declared itself superior to the other branches by saying it could void acts of Congress or acts of the President as far as that goes. In fact, the opposite is true, but this is a very well kept secret that no one really talks about the fact that Congress really has power over the Supreme Court because it can't use this Article 3, Section 2, Paragraph 2 phrase by saying, Supreme Court, we're passing this law and we do not grant you jurisdiction to hear this matter, which would make Congress immediately accountable to the people, and at that point we could give them a thumbs up or a thumb down. As it is now, what Congress does is they pass the buck to the Supreme Court, and then people like Justice Roberts suffers because everyone blames him for not finding the Obamacare law, for instance, unconstitutional. What's interesting about that is the problem with the Supreme Court is it tends to find too many things unconstitutional. That is, the people have passed it through their representatives, and then the Supreme Court looks at it and says, no, you can't have that. Well, Justice Roberts was actually being true to the real code of how a Supreme Court should act, and that is, if they know what the legislature wants and they know what the people want through that legislation, then they will do anything they can to give the people what they want. That's exactly what Justice Roberts did. So I think a lot of his criticism, especially from the right, is misplaced.
Interesting point. Yes, great answer. I definitely agree. That's the common crux and theme of not only the show but also your book, American Illusion of Freedom, is that laws are being made from the bench and not from the people. And so the court themselves, they can say, look, we're not going to hear this case.
Right.
This needs to go back down to the legislature, write the law, and implement the law, because that's what people sent these representatives to Washington to do.
And you know what? That's what Justice Roberts said. If you read between the lines, he said, for instance, don't come crying to us if you have a law you don't like. What are you coming to us for? We're just 9 lawyers in robes. We don't know anything about what you want, except we know what you want in the sense that this is the law that you wanted. It's not perfect. There are misstatements in there, but we know what the purpose was. The purpose was to give people insurance coverage, medical insurance coverage. We know that's the overreaching arch, and the fact that there's some nuances that don't quite fit is not dispositive. We know what you wanted, and that's what we're going to do.
There you go, you guys. There you had it. Richard Nixon Live. We're in the Legal Lounge. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for everybody watching on Facebook. Thank you for everybody listening around the world. Sierra Digital Talk Radio. We're here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure to check out Richard's website. It's available on the screen. You can see right now, you guys. We'll be back next week, more with Richard Nixon Live on Sierra Digital Talk Radio, streaming live coast to coast and around the world. Thank you so much. Take care. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, and let's hear from my fellow vets.
Enjoying all your favorite CRN programming is easier than ever. It's right on your TV, through your local cable provider, and on